Evolution and growth are natural instincts of human being. And if you want to grow and thrive in your business, you have to adopt this phenomena of evolution and self-improvement in business as well, and more so in selling. So that's what we are discussing this entire month on Ace the Sales podcast, where I am helping you uncover the things which can help you raise yourself in sales and hence in your business. So today we are discussing the 3 keys to self-improvement and sales mastery. So let's dive in.
Fall in love with selling as you acquire the right mindset, selling style, and sales process that helps you take your business solution to more prospects, potential clients, and the world at large. If you are a women entrepreneur who is looking to get more sales, scale, and sustainability in your business, you have reached the right place. I'm Roshni Baronia, your host for the show Ace the Sales, which is all about helping you bring your authentic and influential self to each sales conversation.
Now, I was recently reading a book by Seth Godin. It was something like All Marketers Tell Stories. So there was a very interesting word that he was using over and over again, and that was worldview. Now, that was a very intriguing and beautiful word that I came across, and I was just finding a good use of that word in my podcast. So that's why I'm using it here. No, not really. I genuinely feel that worldview is something which is impacting the way we sell in our business, because worldview is by definition what is true for you as a perspective that you have developed over a period of time. So since your childhood, since all your past experiences, whatever has culminated into a common feeling or a common experience for you, that becomes a worldview for you. Now, how does this worldview apply to sales? Because of course, that's the only thing we are talking about in this podcast. So your worldview about sales means what you interpret sales to be. Usually, the worldview that people have about sales is that of being someone very selfish, who is mean, who is manipulative. So that's the kind of feeling you get towards sale. Just because that is your worldview, you feel the same way when you yourself are in the position of a salesperson or you are selling your programs, products, or services. Now, since sales has got a bad rep and it has a worldview of being something very sleazy and pushy and manipulative, you feel the same way when you are in the sales position. So let's try to turn around this worldview today for you. I hope you will be on board with me when I say that selling does not only mean an exchange of goods and services in exchange of money. There are a lot of things where we are selling intangibly to people, whether it is your idea, your personal brand, your business brand, even as small a thing as a social media post, because in exchange of that content consumption, you are asking them for their time and attention. So that's also a kind of intangible selling. So when we are selling day in, day out, then it is very important that we have a worldview or a perspective about selling which is not sleazy or manipulative. In fact, won't you agree that even the biggest of the charities of the world are selling the idea of humanity and social good in order to raise funds? So first of all, you have to change your worldview about selling into something which says that selling isn't bad. It is the most humane thing to do. In fact, if you don't sell, you won't be able to make a positive impact in other person's life or business. In fact, you are probably at a better position than myself to sell your products, program, and services, because I am a strategic sales expert, and whenever I used to introduce myself as a salesperson or a sales expert to people at networking events and forums, they used to lean back a little. Now, this response was of course rooted in the worldview that people were having, that sales is something bad. So that was something which I had to experience, but I'm sure it is not the same for you, because you are probably selling some other kind of business, maybe a health program, a wellness program, or you are a voice coach, or you are a creative entrepreneur selling web design services or graphic design or any such. So the only thing that you have to work upon is changing your worldview. You do not have to care about other people's response to it, because let me tell you, no one in this world gets away without selling, and the response from people should not stop you, because it hasn't stopped me from talking about your work, what you do, and how you can help them in their life or business. We often get influenced by what people are thinking about us, and we tend to compare ourselves to others. And this is the root cause of generating self-doubt within us. But let me tell you, a huge part of self-improvement is to stay in the zone of positivity. And the only way you can be really positive about yourself, about your position as a salesperson in business, will only be when you take charge of your own worldview, your own perspective about selling. So do not let your surroundings or other people's judgment about selling dictate your own attitude. If you want to grow in your business, if you want to increase your revenue, you have to shift your worldview and perspective towards selling right now, starting today. And you have to start believing that selling is good and embrace it with full love. The next thing that you need to work towards in order to achieve sales mastery is to make inspired goals. Now, what do I mean by that? That means that have goals that inspire you on a daily basis. They have to energize you on a regular basis. Now, let's suppose if you are a real estate agent and you have some big ticket assets, probably 3 to 4 big properties that you are aiming to sell off this quarter. So a quarter is of 3 months. So of course, if you aim at closing these deals in this quarter, it will take at least 3 to 4 months before you make any progress or the money comes in. Now, if you try to think that when the money will come in, when I will close the sale, that's when I will get motivation by my success, you are in for a long period of dull days. Because here's the thing, especially in service industry, the sales cycles are really long. Like in B2B sales, they can go as much as 6 months also. In fact, I've had case studies where person has come back to me after 3 years saying that I have been following you and I have been consuming your content, and now I think I am ready to take your services and work with you. So it is that long. So how do you ensure that you are having success which is motivating you and energizing you on a regular basis? It is definitely not the revenue goal or the annual revenue goal that you have in place for yourself, right? The key to it is make short-term and smaller goals. It is about breaking down your bigger goal into something which is more palpable and consumable on a monthly, weekly, and daily basis. So for example, you have an X amount of goal as a revenue for the year. You break that out into quarterly goals, quarter revenue goals, and then take the action steps on a monthly basis. And then on this action steps, you break it down further into weekly tasks. Now, completion of these weekly tasks is something which you will be celebrating. It will be something which is then energizing you regularly, because big, hairy, audacious goals are something which do not energize you. They in fact demotivate and discourage you from even getting started. So set short-term and smaller goals which are more palatable and which are less likely to set you up for failure, because small goals, both in terms of scope and time frame, are easier to achieve and are more motivating. Another benefit of setting these short-term goals is that currently we are in too much of uncertainty and unpredictability, like not only in terms of economic scenarios, but the health conditions with the pandemic still not having gone by, and the political scenarios every now and then springing up. So there are things which are not in your control. What is in your control is your planning and goal setting. So instead of making very long-term plans, which are sometimes very difficult to maneuver on change because of the surrounding atmosphere or uncertainties, make sure that you have short-term goals so that it is easier for them to make tweaks and modifications and and turn things around and keep your plans very flexible. Because with all of the uncertainty around, it is futile to be very over ambitious and set far reaching objectives, and it will be like you are paying for a vacation but you are not sure of when you are going to take that vacation. So my suggestion is that make short term, smaller term goals, and then celebrate the small wins which you do at a monthly and a weekly basis. So when you are able to do 10 client calls per week, that is something which you are celebrating. If you had set a goal for yourself that I will bring in 30 new leads this month, if you are able to get that done, that's a success for you, right? So that's the kind of smaller sales goals you should be setting in order to have more motivation and have more inspiration to work towards your sales goals and business. And the last thing that I want to talk to you about today is seek excellence. Now, this is so important for you if you are trying to level up your game at selling, because you do not only have to focus on quantity, but you also have to focus on quality. You have to prioritize excellence. How do you do that? Start observing your daily sales activities in an analytical and critical way. For example, start observing the quality of your discovery calls. How were you in it? What was the kind of conversation you were having? Were you able to bring out the asking for sales at the right moment of time? Were you able to ask the right questions? Were you able to follow the script that you have designed for yourself? Or look at the kind of email you are drafting. Pay attention to the kind of emails which are getting the maximum response for you. And wherever you feel you are having good response or you are performing really well, that's the place you will be doubling down and trying to master it all the more. Like for me, when I used to send emails to my prospects, subject line is something which I really worked upon a lot, and that is something which I doubled down, so much so that my open rate reached to between 60 to 70%. And now also my Sales Made Simple newsletters, which I send out to my email list twice a month, is something which gets amazing open rate. And that's because I observed and critically analyzed the kind of subject lines that I was writing for my email, observed what kind of emails are getting the maximum open rate, and that's the kind of strategy I then mastered, and now I implement it in all across my email. Another way to attain excellence is to have the right set of people, the thought leadership, mentors, and inspiration around you who are constantly showing you the right way and the right methodology of doing things. So it's like having role models who have excelled in a particular aspect of sales and business expertise, and then learning from them by observing them. So one is you are observing yourself to learn, and another is you are observing others in order to learn. And then don't be afraid to ask for help. And because nowadays we are in such a good pace, we are able to connect with people across the world, and it's so easy for us to reach out to people through social media, through digital platforms, and ask them for help. And people are more than happy and more than generous to spare some time and give you that thought leadership and mentoring. So never be afraid of reaching out for opportunities, seeking help, seeking mentorship, because that will be something which will help you raise yourself in your business, in selling, and as a person, as an individual overall. So those were the 3 easy tips of self-improvement to attain sales mastery. First is change your worldview about selling. Embrace it and believe that it is something which is helping you become more humane. Secondly, set short-term sales goals which energize you and motivate you on a regular basis. And thirdly, seek excellence in whatever you are doing in terms of your sales activities. Observe them and learn from them and double down on whatever is working for you the best. So these are the things which you can get started with right now. You do not have to postpone them, and you can get started with them today itself. If however you need any further clarification or understanding about them, feel free to reach out. I am at Instagram at Roshni_Baronia. I would love to connect with you and answer any of your sales queries. Thank you so much for tuning in today. It means a lot to me that you've taken out the time to spare to listen to this podcast episode. I hope I was able to provide some value to you. And if you had some learnings from today's episode, do consider leaving us a 5-star review or a rating on Apple iTunes. It will mean the world to me and it will help me take this podcast to more and more people. And if you are planning to launch your podcast, you should definitely check out hubhopperstudio.com because that's the place my podcast is hosted, and I am super thrilled and happy with the features and customer support they provide. Hubhopper is India's leading podcast creation platform, which can be the perfect place from where you can share your voice to the entire world. So go check out the link in the show notes, and I will see you next week.